When you see a US aircraft carrier, what do you notice first? Probably the jets, right? The massive flight deck, the sheer scale of it all. But what if I told you the real power, the stuff that makes it a true floating fortress, is almost completely invisible? Well, that's what we're going to deconstruct today, the hidden arsenal that really defines modern naval supremacy. So what is it that makes these vessels so formidable? I mean, it's way more than just a runway out on the ocean. It's this whole complex ecosystem of offense and defense. And trust me, every single piece has a very specific and honestly a terrifyingly effective job to do. So yeah, let's break it all down. All right, first things first, let's talk offense. A carrier's whole reason for being is to project power, right? And that really means being able to reach out and touch an enemy from distances where they think they're totally safe. This is the carrier's spear, and believe me, it has a much, much longer reach than you probably imagine. And this is the tip of that spear. Meet the AIM-174B, also known as the gunslinger. I mean, the name alone tells you it means business, right? What this thing is essentially is a modified version of a missile usually launched from ships, the SM-6, but it's been adapted to fire from a fighter jet. And that's huge because it gives carrier jets the longest air-to-air reach of any weapon in the entire US arsenal, period. Okay, so here's why that matters so much strategically. According to our source, the gunslinger can hit targets over 300 miles away. Now compare that to its main competitor, China's PL-15, which has a range of about 120 miles. It's not even close. We're talking more than double the range. This is an absolute game changer. It means US fighters can take out those critical support planes, the tankers, the command and control aircraft, long before the enemy's own fighters are even close enough to do anything about it. And it's not just about the insane range either. This thing is ridiculously fast. We're talking Mach 3.5. And it's super versatile. It's got this beefy 140-pound warhead that can go after not just other planes, but ships and even targets on the ground. The source even points out that it's being looked at for defending against future hypersonic weapons. So yeah, it's a big deal. But, a spear like that needs a really good armed throw it. And that brings us to the platform it launches from, the F-35C Lightning II. Now, this is not your average fighter jet. It's basically a stealthy flying command center that was built from the ground up for carrier ops and, you guessed it, for launching these advanced long-range weapons. And this is one of its favorite tools, the LASM. That stands for Long Range Anti-Ship Missile. The easiest way to picture it? Think of it like a smart, stealthy torpedo that flies. What makes it so incredibly deadly is that it's autonomous. In a situation where GPS is getting jammed, which is a real threat, the LASM just uses its own sensors to hunt down and identify its target all by itself. That makes it almost impossible to stop. So let's put that all together. Here's the bottom line. An F-35C can sneak in, launch one of these from over 200 miles out, sink an enemy warship, and be heading home before the other side even has a clue a stealth fighter was ever in the area. That's not just an advantage, that's a massive tactical advantage. But hey, stealth isn't the whole story. And it's not all about the flashy new jets either. The real backbone, the workhorse of every single carrier air wing, is still the F/A-18 Super Hornet. This is an aircraft that's been in the fight, it's been proven, and it has been constantly upgraded to stay lethal. Just look at the latest version, the Block 3. It's a perfect example. Yeah, the airframe itself has been around for a while, but it is stuffed with 5th-generation tech. We're talking a brand new cockpit, a super powerful radar, and even some stealthy features to shrink its radar signature. It's all designed to keep this legacy jet absolutely deadly on today's battlefield. Honestly, the Super Hornet is the Swiss Army knife of the air wing. It's the ultimate multi-tool. It can launch the long-range gunslinger, it can get into a dogfight, it can provide close air support for guys on the ground, it can jam enemy radar, heck, it can even act as a flying gas station and refuel other planes. It literally does it all. And the source we're looking at really hits the nail on the head here. Pilots absolutely love flying them because they're reliable and they're proven in combat. There's just this incredible amount of trust in the platform. This isn't some weapon on a drawing board. It's been out there in the real world for decades. And that kind of reliability, you just can't put a price on it. Okay, so we've talked about the spear, which is pretty impressive. But a great offense doesn't mean much without an impenetrable shield. And let's be real, a 100,000-ton aircraft carrier is about as big a target as you can get. So how on earth does it stop itself from getting hit by, say, a swarm of incoming anti-ship missiles?
Well, the answer is layers. It's all about defense in depth. There's no single magic bullet system here. It's a sequence. A threat gets engaged way out at medium range, then again at close range, and if anything is still coming, it meets a final last-ditch wall of lead. Let's walk through each of those layers.
So, your first line of defense is the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the ESSM. The key thing to know about this one is active radar guidance. Now, what that means in plain English is that the missile basically has its own brain. Once it's launched, it guides itself the rest of the way. And that is so important because it frees up the ship's main radar to keep scanning and tracking tons of other threats at the same time. It's an expert at taking out those really nasty sea-skimming missiles. All right, so let's say a missile somehow gets through that first layer. Well, next up is the RIM-116 Rolling Airframe Missile, or RAM. Our source describes this as the carrier's last shot to kill a missile with another missile. It's incredibly fast, super agile, and it's built for those heart-stopping final second intercepts. And carriers don't just have a few of these. Oh no. Each launcher is packed with 21 of them, and a carrier has more than one launcher. That sheer volume of fire is critical because it's the perfect defense against what's called a saturation attack. That's when an enemy just throws everything they have at you at once, hoping to overwhelm your defenses. And then, if by some miracle a threat gets through all of that, it runs into the final barrier, the Phalanx CIWS. This is basically a robot Gatling gun guided by its own radar, and it spits out tungsten rounds at a mind-boggling 4,500 rounds per minute. It's just an automated wall of metal that, as our source so vividly puts it, literally shreds anything that gets through.
So there you have it. You've got the long-range spear and this incredible multi-layered shield. And it's that combination, that offensive reach and defensive depth, that really makes a modern carrier so dominant. But of course, it all begs the question, what's next? Because this technological arms race never, ever stops. So let's just recap real quick. We've seen how a carrier's power really comes down to a few core pieces, right? You've got that extreme long-range punch with a gunslinger. You've got sneaky, stealthy strikes from the F-35C carrying the LRA-SM. You have the amazing flexibility of the Super Hornet doing, well, everything. And then you have that layered missile shield protecting the whole group. And this, right here, is probably the most important thing to take away from all this. This isn't science fiction. These aren't just concepts on a PowerPoint slide. As our source makes crystal clear, these are real systems on real aircraft, deployed on real carriers, right now. They're out there as we speak. And that brings us to our final thought. For as powerful and advanced as all these systems are, the world doesn't stand still. New threats, especially things like hypersonic weapons, are on the horizon. So the real question we're left with is, what does the next generation of all this look like? How is this constant race in technology going to keep shaping who holds power out in the open ocean?